Let's get right into it. 6. She walks like she owns the sidewalk, and your brain agrees. Your brain is scanning for threats approximately 11 million bits of information per second. But you know what it notices even faster than a bear charging at you? Confidence. Not the fake Instagram con where someone's posing with a latte and manifesting their best life. Real, bone-deep confidence that shows up in how someone carries their spine. Here's the thing about posture. Before your conscious brain even registers someone's face, your lizard brain has already made a snap judgment based on how they move through space. A study from Webster University found that people with high self-confidence are perceived as more attractive even when they're objectively less conventionally hot. Because confidence sends a primal signal that says, I have my life together, and I'm probably not going to steal your snacks or emotionally destroy you. And men's brains absolutely short-circuit over this because it triggers an evolutionary response that says, this person has resources, social status, and probably won't cry over a text message. Meanwhile, you could be wearing a potato sack and yesterday's eyeliner, but if you move like you're the main character in your own life, people will literally turn their heads. Your posture is basically doing all the marketing your dating profile wishes it could. It's free advertising that your nervous system is stable and you're not spiraling over whether he liked your story. Basically, stand up straight and your body language will gaslight everyone into thinking you're a functioning adult. 5. She doesn't text back immediately because she has a life. There's this psychological phenomenon called intermittent reinforcement that makes slot machines and toxic relationships equally addictive. It's the same reason your brain obsesses over someone who's inconsistent while completely ignoring the person who texts "Good morning, beautiful" every single day at 7 a.m. like a human alarm clock. Mature women accidentally discovered this cheat code by simply having actual lives. They're not glued to their phones because they're busy doing literally anything else, working on a project, reading a book, or just existing without needing constant validation from their notification center. And men lose their absolute minds over this. When you're always available, you're basically training someone's brain to stop valuing your attention. It's like leaving a cake on the counter versus locking it in a safe. Nobody's breaking into Fort Knox for the cake that's just sitting there getting stale. But the moment you're inconsistent, responding sometimes quickly, sometimes hours later, you've activated every dopamine receptor in their brain like you're a human slot machine. The irony is that the women who do this best aren't even doing it strategically. They genuinely forgot you texted because they were learning pottery or having a life. Meanwhile, you're over here setting timers so you don't respond too fast, accidentally creating a whole mathematical formula for when it's acceptable to reply. Your absence literally makes their brain produce the same chemicals as gambling. Congratulations, you're now a biological casino. 4. She dresses for her own weird taste. Not Pinterest. Let's talk about style for a second. Most people think attraction is about following trends, wearing whatever's currently viral on TikTok, or squeezing into whatever fashion magazines say is in this season. But here's the psychological twist. Your brain is wired to notice things that are different, not things that are the same. There's a concept called the distinctiveness effect, where people remember things that stand out from the pattern. So when every woman at an event is wearing the same trendy outfit, the one who shows up in something completely different, even if it's objectively weirder, is the one everyone remembers, because your brain literally flags novelty as important information we're storing. Mature women who stopped caring about fitting in have accidentally hacked this system. They wear colors that make them feel powerful, even if it's not what's trending. They pick clothes that highlight what they like about themselves, instead of hiding what magazines tell them is a problem area. And the result is this thing called personal style, which is basically just having the audacity to exist in your own aesthetic universe. Think about it. You can spot someone with actual style from across the room because they're not a copy-paste of everyone else. They might be wearing red lipstick on a Tuesday for no reason, or have a signature scent that makes their presence linger in your memory like a weird smell you can't place. It's not about being the most beautiful, it's about being the most you, which paradoxically makes you more attractive because your brain tags you as a rare specimen instead of generic human number 47. Also, Psychology Today found that people perceive someone as more attractive based on how they present themselves, the confidence in their style, rather than their actual physical features. So you could have a face that breaks mirrors, but if you walk in wearing something that screams, "I chose this and I don't care what you think," people will assume you're fascinating. Basically, stop dressing like an algorithm and start dressing like a person with opinions. 3. She's fluent in strategic silence. Here's something deeply annoying. 80% of attraction happens through nonverbal communication, which means all those hours you spent crafting the perfect witty text were basically irrelevant because your body language and tone were doing all the actual work. Mature women understand that conversation isn't about filling every awkward pause with words like you're a nervous podcast host. It's about creating space, actual silence, where tension can build, like you're scoring a thriller movie. Because your brain interprets silence in conversation as either extreme confidence or serial killer energy. And if you're doing it right, it's the attractive kind. When you're constantly talking, explaining yourself, or filling dead air with rambling stories about your day, you're basically giving away all your mystery like you're a Wikipedia page with no paywall. But when you pause before answering, hold eye contact a beat too long, or just let silence sit there like an uninvited guest, the other person's brain goes into overdrive trying to figure you out. There's actual science behind this. Psychological studies show that pauses in conversation create anticipation, which triggers the reward centers as suspense in movies. Your brain hates not knowing what comes next, so it pays closer attention, releases dopamine, and suddenly you're the most interesting person in the room because you know when to shut up. The trick isn't to be mysterious for the sake of being mysterious, like some noir film character smoking a cigarette dramatically in the corner. It's about saying less but meaning more. Answer questions without revealing your entire backstory. Use phrases like, "That's a story for another time," and then just move on. Let them wonder. Let them lean in. Let their brain do the work of obsessing over what you didn't say. Also, your tone of voice matters more than your actual words. You could read a grocery list in a slow, purposeful tone with strategic pauses, and someone would probably find it seductive. Meanwhile, you could say something genuinely interesting while speed-talking like an auctioneer, and people will zone out. Basically, learn to weaponize awkward silence like it's a superpower, because it is. 2. She has feminine energy, whatever that actually means. Okay, buckle up, because this one's about to sound like mystical nonsense, but there's actual psychology buried in here. Feminine energy isn't about being submissive, weak, or waiting around like a Victorian damsel hoping someone notices you exist. It's about receptivity, which is a fancy way of saying you're not trying to control every single outcome like you're micromanaging a group project. Here's the deal. Humans are drawn to balance. When you're constantly in masculine energy, initiating everything, planning, solving, fixing, chasing, you're not leaving any space for someone else to step up. You're basically doing all the work while complaining that men don't pursue you, which is like eating someone's lunch and then asking why they're not hungry. A study from the University of California found that men perceive women with relaxed, calm body language and softer communication styles as more attractive. Not because they want you to be passive, but because that energy signals you're secure enough to let things unfold without forcing them. You're not anxiously trying to control the narrative like your life is a badly written screenplay. Mature women do this thing where they just allow. They let men plan dates. They let conversations breathe. They don't jump in to fix every awkward moment or fill every silence with nervous chatter. And men interpret this as confidence because your brain only relaxes when it feels safe. So if you're chill, you must be operating from a position of power. The trick is you're not being passive, you're being selective. You're not chasing because you don't have to. You're not controlling because you trust yourself to handle whatever happens. It's like the difference between frantically grabbing at something versus holding your hand up and waiting for it to land. Also, tone of voice matters here. Slower, softer communication isn't weak. It's commanding in a different way. It forces people to lean in and pay attention instead of you yelling over them like you're in a verbal wrestling match. Basically, stop doing all the emotional labor and let other people come to you. Your nervous system will thank you.
Number 1. She has her own life, and you're just a guest star. Here's the most devastating truth about attraction. Nobody wants to be your entire universe. They want to be invited into a universe that's already interesting without them. Because the moment you make someone the center of your world, you've accidentally made yourself boring. Think about it like this. Imagine someone's life is a Netflix series. Would you rather watch a show where the main character has a rich backstory, multiple plot lines, interesting side characters, and things happening whether you tune in or not? Or would you watch a show where the main character just sits around waiting for one specific person to text them back with no hobbies, no goals, and no personality outside that relationship? Yeah, you'd cancel that subscription immediately. Mature women who are genuinely irresistible aren't trying to be. They have careers, hobbies, friendships, passions, and projects that excite them with or without a partner. And men are magnetically drawn to this because it triggers something primal, the fear of missing out. If your life is already fascinating, they want access. If your life revolves around them, they already have it, so why work for it? Psychologically, this is called the scarcity principle. People value what's rare and hard to get. If you're always available, always planning your schedule around someone else, always waiting by the phone like it's 1987, you've made yourself the human equivalent of a participation trophy. Common, expected, unexciting. But when you have your own thing going, your own goals, your own social circle, your own Saturday night plans that don't include sitting around hoping someone asks you out, suddenly you're valuable real estate. You're not desperate for their attention because you're already fulfilled. And that energy is so attractive, it should probably be illegal. The irony is that the women who are the worst at relationships are usually the ones trying the hardest. They've read all the dating advice, followed all the rules, and optimized themselves into a generic template of the perfect girlfriend. Meanwhile, the women who are thriving, they forgot you existed because they were too busy living. Also, there's science behind this. People are more attracted to those who seem happy and fulfilled because happiness is contagious, and your brain wants to be around high-vibe people. If you're miserable without a relationship, what's the appeal? You're basically advertising that being with you is a chore. So the secret to being irresistible isn't about learning techniques or playing games. It's about building a life so good that someone would feel lucky to be part of it. Have ambitions. Grow, learn, surround yourself with people who elevate you. Stop putting your happiness in someone else's hands like they're your emotional vending machine. Because the most attractive thing you can be is complete on your own. Everything else is just a bonus. That's all for today. I'll be making more videos like this, so subscribe if you don't want to miss them.